Hi there. My name is David Lowe. I am a senior manager here at the California Society of CPAs. And with me today are Courtney Garrett and Joanne, representing KPMG, Baker Tilly, and Markham. And this is do's and don'ts of recruiting season. And if you haven't already subscribed to our Cal CPA YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure to give this a like. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the dues of recruiting. Fall is our recruiting season, though, and I'm sure every one of us here, especially our recruiters, are super busy. So I appreciate their time in joining us this afternoon to talk about some tips on recruiting season. So we'll go ahead and jump right in and start with our dues, and I'll throw it out to Courtney, followed by Joanne and Garrett. Actually, just for some quick introductions, you can just go ahead and tell us who you are.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Brazil. I'm a manager with KPMG and our University Talent Acquisition team. I've been with KPMG for almost 11 years now, and I would say a bulk of that has been in campus recruiting. I've held a variety of roles within the recruiting team, and so I'm happy to be here to help you get a job after college, so to speak. So next.
Hi, I'm Joanne. I'm the campus recruiter for Markham. I've been with the firm for a year and a half now. I sit in our Los Angeles office and I also recruit for our Orange County office as well as our Northern California offices. So happy to be here and share some tips about recruiting.
Thanks, Joanne. My name is Garrett. I'm a campus recruiting manager at Baker Tilly. I sit out of our Los Angeles office. This is my 10th year with the firm, which went by really, really quickly. My undergraduate degree was from USC in accounting. I have my CPA license. I worked in audit before transitioning over to human resources as a recruiter. I'm actually currently an ASU student, so hence my Sun Devils shirt today. I'm getting a degree in HR. So I'm finally getting some proper training in the HR world, and I'm very excited about it. So I handle recruiting primarily in Southern California and in our Arizona market, but I oversee a lot of recruiting in the Western region of the United States for Baker Tilly for primarily audit and tax services. Super excited to be here, David. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you to all three of you for joining us today. So we can get into it, though. We'll start with Courtney in terms of what dues should students be aware of for recruiting season.
Yes, thanks, David. So I think my number one thing is research. Make sure to do your research not only on the firms, but also the positions that you are applying for. There are a lot of variety when it comes to the firms, right? There's the big four, there's local, there's regional, there's midsize. We're all here for you. We all have jobs available for you. So really think about from a personal standpoint, what type of firm would you like to join? And then go ahead and go online and do your research. We all have some great websites out there that tell you a little bit about us, our culture, our values, the positions that we're looking to fill at the current time. So first and foremost, do your research on the firms. And then in addition to that, when you are applying, make sure you are researching those positions and furthermore, looking at the qualifications when tied to those positions. We have them on the job description, read through that to make sure you are qualified. For example, if you're going into audit, you likely have to want to get your CPA. Make sure you're going to meet those unit requirements in order to sit for the CPA exam, but also to get licensed in whichever state you're applying to. So that's just an example of when I say look at the job description and the qualifications to look for. I would say my second thing before I pass it off to Joanne would be be responsive during the recruiting process. It's going to seem really overwhelming when you're going through the recruiting process because you're going to lots of emails, you're going to get invited to lots of events, and this is on top of all your schoolwork also. And so make sure to, respond to those recruiters, answer those emails. Again, I know it's a lot, but we need to know final head counts, things like that for certain events. But also when it comes down to making that final decision about where you are going to accept your offer, make sure you tell all the other recruiters that you're not going to accept with them, just because there are people kind of waiting. They might be the next offer that goes out once you decline. So I would just say, don't quote unquote ghost the recruiters once you've decided kind of what firm you want to land on. Just let them know that you're going to decline their offer. It's okay if you decline us. We recognize that everyone we're going to offer to is not going to accept with us. And so just make sure you tell everybody once you have made your final decision. So David, I think those are my two dues. And I'll pass it off to Joanne for some more.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. Those are awesome dues. I would definitely recommend following up with recruiters after you do get your offer, just to make sure that we're all on the same page with everything. So for my first due, I would highly recommend networking with the firm. So like Courtney mentioned, after you have done your research with the firm, it's so important to meet the people of the firm. Everyone is super nice, super friendly, and what's important is to get to know the people. So schools will have events for you to meet these accounting firms. Specifically, Meet the Firms is a great event to attend. There are so many firms for you to meet, and come in with a game plan. There's going to be maybe 50 firms that you can meet, and it's impossible to meet all 50 in one night. And you will be prepared with a map from your organization. So do your research on which firms are going to be attending, maybe where they might be, and have a plan for what you're going to be doing for that event. If you can't Meet the Firms, maybe it's that specific night you have another commitment to. Firms will be doing presentations at Theta Alpha Psi or Accounting Society. So look at the recruiting calendar and see where your firm's going to be at, and get a chance to meet your recruiter in person and have that FaceTime with them. And also meet other representatives. So if you're interested in assurance or tax or audit, go out, have conversations with them, ask them what they are doing day to day, what they enjoy about the firm, and ultimately get to know the people and meet as many people from the firm as you can. Another follow-up that I would do, or sorry, the second due I would do is a follow-up. So it's very important after you go to a career fair and do that follow-up. So if it's an email, try to connect with someone in a more personal level that you can bring that into your follow-up. So if you talked about maybe your specific favorite restaurant, you can bring that up in your follow-up message, just so that your recruiter can remember you. And if you want to also message them on LinkedIn and add them there, that's also a great way to follow up with a recruiter as well. Yep, so those are my 2 dues for accounting students. I'm gonna pass it over to Garrett.
Awesome. Some really great advice out here, guys. Hope you're taking it all in. Thanks, Courtney. Thanks, Joanne. A couple of things that I wanted to kind of address was the first one was a resume. It's one of the first things a lot of recruiters will see, whether you're applying online or you're handing a recruiter at a job fair your resume. It's a sheet of paper, right? It's an 8.5 by 11-inch sheet of paper most of the time. And when recruiters look at these resumes, one of the things that can be overwhelming for anyone is if you look at a piece of paper that is just a wall of text. So one of my big pieces of advice for students is to let the resume breathe a little bit. Give us some white space, make it easy on the eyes. Think about your time as a student in high school and at the university level. When you open up the textbook and there's no pictures and it's just a giant wall of text, it's really overwhelming to look at all of that and say, hey, I've got to read all of this, right? Recruiters are the same way. Right. So when we look at a resume and there's a ton of stuff on there, it's overwhelming. So we know you're accomplished. By the way, your resume is just a little piece of who you are. Who you are as an individual is much more than just an 8.5 by 11-inch sheet of paper. So we want to get to know you. So give us a little bit of a preview of who you are. Don't tell us everything on the resume, and give a little white space on that resume so that it can breathe a little bit. I would highly recommend most of your universities at a career center, they will have a template to use for your resume. I highly suggest using those templates. There's a lot of really good formats out there, very simple formats, so don't overcomplicate it. And if you do ever have any questions about a format for a resume, please reach out to any of the 4 of us on this call today. All of us can point you in the right direction for help with a resume, all right? The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, asking questions. As I had mentioned, I was an accounting student at university myself. The advice I was given was always kind of like, hey, ask what you want to ask, or certain questions to ask. And it was really overwhelming for me because I felt like it didn't really help. When someone said, oh, just ask what you want to ask, it's like, well, I don't know what I want to ask yet. And so that was really frustrating to me when I was a student. I would say a simple recommendation for questions to ask For those of you who are watching this, who have met me before, I always ask chronological questions. I will start with your high school, then perhaps your community college, then where you're currently at university. I also happen to think this is absolutely fair game and appropriate for a student to ask of professionals at a firm. It's giving the same kind of pieces of information for people to latch onto and engage in a conversation rather than an interview or an interrogation. So when you're asking questions, hey, Joanne, where did you go to university? How did you get into recruiting? Courtney, where was high school? How did you join KPMG? Where was university for you? You know, what did you study there? How did you get to where you are today? Those kind of chronologically based questions allow people to talk about themselves, which everyone likes doing. And it also gives you the opportunity to find pieces along the way that you have in common with them and share some experiences in a conversation. So, David, those would be the two things for me for dues in preparing your resume and kind of some questions to ask that are easy and friendly to ask.
Great. Thank you to all three of you for those dues. Great tips there. And we can jump right into, I guess, the polar opposite, which are the don'ts. And we'll go ahead and go back to Courtney for that.
Yeah, thanks, David. So my biggest one I would say is don't procrastinate. I think I can say for a majority of the firms, not only on this call, but just in the recruiting realm right now, is we do a lot of rolling interviews and applications. What that means is we, as soon as a position is full, we will kind of take it down from our website. So what that means for you is once you know you want a specific job, don't sit and wait like the olden days where there was an application deadline. That is likely not the case anymore. So apply to that position as soon as you know it's the one that you want. In addition to that, don't over apply also. I think I would say it's a red flag to recruiters when we see 10 different applications from you within the same, if you're going back to Garrett's, ask questions. If you're confused about what position you should be applying to, that's what we're here for as recruiters. Contact us, ask us about which one am I supposed to apply to. We realize there's a lot of different practices. There's a lot of different start dates, right? Is there winter? Is it summer? Is it fall? So make sure you're asking those questions so you're not over applying within a firm, because I would say that's definitely a red flag for us. I also, my second don't limit your options, right? Public accounting is not the only career choice, I would say, with an accounting degree. There's corporate accounting, government, there's a lot of different options. So, and at those career fairs that Joanne mentioned, all those employers are there. So make sure to talk if you are interested. I know public accounting is popular, but again, it is not the only one. And also, going to kind of the limiting your options or adding on to it, if you're not quite ready yet to go through the recruiting process, just because all your friends are, it's okay that you don't either. If you're not ready to make that decision, if you're not ready to commit to an employer, we likely will always have jobs the following year. There's always going to be positions open. So it's okay to wait. It's okay to wait till you've taken another accounting class or something to really figure out what you want as a career after you graduate. So I would say those are my two don'ts, and I'll let Joanne share hers.
Thanks, Courtney. So in addition to going to career fairs and having that game plan, which is very important, I would say the one don't is don't come to a recruiter or a representative without a game plan when you're trying to talk to them. So yes, you've made your plan to go to maybe Baker Tilly or KPMG, but don't just be hanging in the back, waiting and trying to grab the recruiter's attention and just stand in the background. Come with a plan, come with a pitch, and give the recruiter a little bit of your background before you go right into what you're looking for. So for example, a don't would be, hi, my name is Joanne, and I'm looking for a tax position in your firm. It's great that you do have what service line you are interested in. We love that. But we would like to hear a little bit of background about yourself, or maybe like a smoother introduction to getting to know the firm or the representative that you're talking to. So come up with what you want to talk to. Like Courtney said, do research on the firm, and that will be what you will use to sort of start the conversation with your recruiter. Recruiters are there to talk to you, help you, guide you to the right firm or the right role. So it's really important that you are presenting yourself with confidence. I know talking to recruiters can be intimidating, and especially being in a room full of recruiters. Maybe this is your first time at Meet the Firms and you're like, I'm about to have the most gut-wrenching experience. So take a deep breath, maybe take some breaks if you need to. It is going to be an overwhelming experience. So take your time, but do come with confidence and don't come in with your, don't come in unprepared. So thank you. And then I'm going to pass it over to Garrett.
Thanks, Joanne. Yep. So for a couple of don'ts I wanted to go over. One of them that was really top of mind for me was talking about exaggerating kind of your qualifications. So let me put a disclaimer on this. In high school and in the first part of college, when I was at a community college, I worked in restaurant jobs. It's among my favorite thing to see on resumes, because I think the customer service skills that you learn in retail or restaurants or anything like that are really, really relatable and translatable to careers in public accounting or really any professional services job. But I always laugh when I see restaurant experience on a resume, because some of the bullet points that people put under this in terms of what they've done at that restaurant, where it's like consulted with thousands of clients on menu options. And it's like, what? Yes, we know, most of us know what working in a restaurant is like. Many of us have done it. And so I usually don't get upset about this when I see it on a resume, just because I know a lot of times in preparing a resume, maybe it's the first time we've done it, we're not really sure what to put on there. We're trying to appear confident and competent. And so we're trying to put things on there that will impress people. And, what's funny is it's just working at a restaurant at all is going to be impressive for me. So you don't need to sort of exaggerate those experiences in retail or a coffee shop or anything like that, or Eagle Scouts or something like that. Just putting that on there is going to start a conversation. So don't stress too much about the bullet points and making them really impressive, where it's like, wow, this sounds like the best employee in the history of Chick-fil-A. Oh my gosh, this person is really impressive. That's okay, right? The fact that you worked at a restaurant at all is going to start a conversation where we're going to learn more about your skills, and you've got us once you just have the headline there. So don't exaggerate the qualifications on a resume. The other thing I would not do is neglect soft skills. This is going to be tricky. Accounting in general and a lot of professional services jobs, the technical skills are almost taken for granted. You have to have technical skills to succeed in this job. And so I think a lot of times there's an emphasis and a focus put on technical skills, or at least from an individual standpoint, people are usually most insecure about their own technical skills. And so what ends up happening is you overlooked the soft skills. And the soft skills are not a nice to have. They are critically important. If you look across all of the organizations on this call, and David, I'll include Cal CPA on this, KPMG, Markham, Baker Tilly, Cal CPA, all of the other professional services firms, the people are technically gifted. The ones that succeed are extremely technically gifted, but they're also really gifted with soft skills. And the reason the soft skills matter so much is it's just coming down to caring about the people that you're working with. You have to genuinely want to help people, and those soft skills become a huge part of how you help someone. And think about your experiences in life where you've dealt with somebody who was correct. The topic you were speaking about, they were correct about it. But they were just such jerks that it was like, you know what, I know you're right, but I don't want to work with you. So that's what happens if you're technically gifted, but the soft skills aren't there, is that people say, listen, I know you're correct in this answer, but I really don't like the tone, or I really don't like the way that you told me that you're correct about this, and therefore I don't want to work with you. And that does happen. That happens a lot. And so don't neglect the soft skills thinking that the technical skills are way more important than the soft skills, because both, unfortunately, are really important and they take practice. So give yourself some space and grace, and don't feel too bad if developing the soft skills is difficult, because they can take time. But I please don't neglect the soft skills.
Great. Well, thank you so much to all three of you for sharing some of those insights, though, and I'm sure that's going to help a lot of students out there. A lot of them are going to be experiencing recruiting season for the first time, and you know they're kind of just thrown in there without any guidance. So I appreciate your time and your experience, though, and sharing that with the audience. So you can definitely find more recruiting information on our YouTube channel at Cal CPA. So definitely look us up on YouTube, and don't forget, we also have free membership for students. So check us out at www.calcpa.org. And thank you all to you three for your time today.